15 to 20 young people who were holding a can of kerosene in their hands, and they were about to throw that kerosene onto me and set me on fire. He was not convinced and he wrote against me and sent it to the minister. And the SSP's car, when it was going just past that car in which they had planted the bomb exploded. Mandal Commission की जब लागू किया गया मंडल कमीशन की रिकमेंडेशन, तो उस समय जो परिस्थिति देश की हुई, बच्चे लड़के और लड़कियां जाके आत्मदाह करने लगे, अपने अपने घरों में जाते लॉक करते.
Thank you for watching the first part of our detailed conversation with Mr. Krishna Mohan Sir. Welcome back. Let's continue this conversation for a fruitful insight. Sir, एक IAS ऑफिसर की सैलरी क्या होती है? ये बहुत बड़ा क्वेश्चन रहता है सबके मन में.
IAS ऑफिसर की सैलरी, अगर मैं आपको अपना एक्सपीरियंस पहले बताऊं कि पुराने समय में जिस समय हम लोगों ने सर्विस एंटर करी थी, उस समय मेरी सैलरी जो थी 900 रुपये होती थी प्रति माह. पर उसके बावजूद भी मेरी पत्नी इसमें से 100 रुपये बचा लेती थी और पब्लिक प्रोविडेंट फंड में जमा करा देती थी. और दोज वर द डेज इट वाज वन वाज एबल टू गेट the expenses through even 900 rupees. But over the time, as inflation, prices started rising, and the government realized that it is necessary to compensate the officers adequately, so they raised their salary. And I think now when the new entrant joins the service, he gets a salary around 40 to 50,000, which I think is very good. Of course, at a junior level. When you join the service, 40,000 rupees is a good enough salary. And of course, you can't compare it with private sector, that you never compare. Right. But as I said, the IAS is a service, and you should take it in that way, that salary does not matter. It is the kind of good things that you are performing to the society. And I distinctly remember a very interesting thing which a civil servant must learn from that. When I joined Chandigarh administration as Deputy Commissioner, I had only 9 years of service. And the day I joined, the same day the local member of parliament, he came to meet me. And he said, DC Sahab, I'm going to a place called Mani Majra for a public meeting. Why don't you accompany me? It will give you a good idea about Chandigarh. You will meet the important people of the area also. So I accompanied him. He was a very noble politician. And again, as I say, politicians are not bad. They are very good people, very large-hearted people. He was a very noble man. And on the dais, both of us were sitting. And then he looked towards the people and he said, भाइयों और बहनों, ये आपके नए डेप्यूटी कमिश्नर हैं. और फिर मेरी तरफ मुड़ के बोले, डीसी साहब, आप एक पब्लिक सर्वेंट हैं. और पब्लिक सर्वेंट होने के कारण आपकी कलम में ताकत है. और उस कलम की ताकत का इस्तेमाल करके आप लोगों का भला कर सकते हैं. और जब आप लोगों का भला करेंगे तो लोग आपको दुआ देंगे, और वो दुआ आपको बिल्कुल मुफ्त मिलेगी. उसके लिए आपको पैसे नहीं खर्चने पड़ेंगे, बल्कि उल्टा सरकार आपको सैलरी भी देगी. तो आप खुद सोचिए, इससे बढ़ के क्या स्थिति हो सकती है कि आपकी कलम में ताकत है, आप लोगों का भला कर सकते हैं. लोगों का भला करेंगे तो लोग आशीर्वाद देंगे, दुआ देंगे, मुफ्त मिलेगी, बल्कि उल्टा सरकार आपको सैलरी भी देगी. आई नेवर फॉरगॉट दैट. एंड व्हेनेवर ए सिचुएशन केम when I was able to help the people, I helped them. And that is the service part which I always like to say. Instead of glorifying oneself on the social media or not doing anything, because some people, they remain very honest, but they don't perform. You must perform. You must deliver. So if you do that, you will be able to earn the goodwill of the people who are your stakeholders.
सर, सैलरी से अगर टैक्सेशन पे आए तो अभी बहुत रिसेंटली एक बहुत प्रोमिनेंट पॉलिटिशियन है, उन्होंने एक स्टेटमेंट दी थी कि इंडियंस पे टैक्सेस लाइक इंग्लैंड टू गेट सर्विसेज लाइक सोमालिया. सो व्हाट इज योर टेक ऑन दैट?
मेरा ये मानना है कि भारतवर्ष में बहुत प्रगति हुई है और पब्लिक सर्विसेज में काफ़ी इम्प्रूवमेंट आया है. पर्टिकुलरली इस बात को ध्यान में रखते हुए कि जब से इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्नोलॉजी आई है और जो प्रेजेंट सरकार है, इसने भी जो है डिजिटल इंडिया कैंपेन को लॉन्च करके डीबीटी, डायरेक्ट बेनिफिट ट्रांसफ़र का यूज़ करके, आधार लिंक्ड प्रोग्राम्स करके काफ़ी सहूलतें लोगों को मुहैया कराई हैं, उपलब्ध कराई हैं. और मैं हमेशा ये मानता हूँ कि एक इक्वेशन जो कि जिसमें मेरा विश्वास है कि IT इज इक्वल टू IT प्लस IT प्लस IT. लेफ्ट साइड पर जो IT है, IT India's transformation, IT, is equal to IT, information technology, plus IT, that is inspired training. Training, capacity building, skill upgradation, that is necessary for the youth. And the third IT is again very important. It is called as inner transformation, attitudinal changes. So in देश का ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन इन्हीं तीन चीज़ों से होगा, स्किल अपग्रेडेशन से, इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्नोलॉजी से और एटीट्यूड चेंज करने से। अगर ये तीनों चीज़ें उपस्थित होंगी तो मुझे विश्वास है कि इसके अंदर देश प्रगति की राह पर चलेगा। और पिछले 10-15 वर्षों के अंदर, जैसे मैंने कहा, टेक्नोलॉजी का इस्तेमाल करके काफ़ी पब्लिक सर्विसेज में इम्प्रूवमेंट आया है। ऑफ कोर्स देयर इज़ ऑलवेज स्कोप फॉर इम्प्रूवमेंट, and in this regard the government is doing a lot, and with artificial intelligence coming in, I think the days in future we are going to see much better public services as well. So taxation or services, taxation is necessary because ultimately if you have to provide services, taxation is necessary, but the taxation also has undergone lot of reforms. In fact, when I talk about reforms, I say that there are so many reforms which are taking place nowadays. So there are administrative reforms, there are police reforms, there are electoral reforms, one nation, one election, there are tax reforms. So reforms is the need of the hour, and I think the government is taking all steps towards that. And the aim, the government come basically for provision of the public services to the people. And my view is that India still ranks very high in terms of provision of public services. Taxation, we have tried to improve the taxation in a big way in the recent past.
Sir, also we hear politicians, calling G.S.T as Gabbar Singh tax or Grihasthi Sarvanash tax. So on a lighter note, do you think implementing G.S.T was the right move?
I totally am of the view that GST was the right step, and GST is a progressive step. In fact, GST is helpful in reducing the cascading effect in respect of indirect taxes. It was a right step, and it has been worked out not only by the political executive but also economists, and everyone is of the view that the thing of the future is GST. And of course glitches are always there. Whenever you bring a new thing, कुछ न कुछ नया लाते हैं तो कुछ न कुछ इसमें कठिनाइयाँ भी आती हैं। और मुझे लगता है कि जो फिनेंस मिनिस्टर अक्सर इस बारे में मीटिंग भी बुलाती हैं, जिसके अंदर जीएसटी के अंदर जो कठिनाइयाँ आ रही हैं उसको धीरे धीरे करके रिमूव किया जा रहा है, स्लैब्स को भी जो है रैशनलाइज किया जा रहा है। लेकिन जीएसटी वॉज ए राइट स्टेप्स, and it is a kind of a uniform tax which is applicable for the entire country, and every state has benefited out of it also. तो समय के साथ इसमें और इम्प्रूवमेंट्स होंगे, जिससे कि लोगों की शुरू में जो कठिनाइयाँ थी व्यापारियों की नया टैक्स लागू होने के बाद, वो धीरे धीरे कठिनाइयाँ दूर होती गई हैं और भी आगे जो है दूर होंगी। लेकिन ये अगर हम इसको वापस लेने का प्रश्न ही नहीं उठता, it is a right step in the right direction.
Okay, one nation, one tax, GST.
One nation, one tax. We are talking about one nation, one ration card. We are talking about one nation, one election.
One election,
so,
right.
Ultimately, the states may be different, but unification of the country must be there. In fact, just to add to that, civil service, finds all India services particularly find a place in the constitution of this country, because the civil services play a very important part in unification of the country. Right. Because people from the north gets posted in the south, east and west, and then settle down there, and they bring their culture from their own states and intermingle with the culture of the other states. So we are now moving about one nation, one tax, one nation, one election, so which is, I think, the right step also.
सर, मंडल कमीशन के प्रोटेस्ट के टाइम पे स्पेसिफिकली सेल्फ इमुलेशन के बहुत सारे केसेस बाहर आए थे। आप उस टाइम पे कहाँ पे पोस्टेड थे और ऐसा कोई इंसिडेंट जो आप रिकॉल कर पाओ?
मंडल कमीशन की जब लागू किया गया मंडल कमीशन की रिकमेंडेशन, तो उस समय जो परिस्थिति देश की हुई, तो उस समय बच्चे, यंग बॉयज़ एंड गर्ल्स, दे केम ऑन द ग्राउंड and they started agitating against the Mandal Commission recommendation. Now, I am not going to say whether the recommendation were right or wrong. It was a public policy which was brought out by the government. But I am going to talk about it only from the point of view an ethical dilemma which was faced before us. तो बच्चे जो हैं सड़क पर आ गए, और उसके बाद क्या हुआ, दिल्ली में एक घटना घटित हो गई। तो एक बंदे ने, एक लड़के ने आत्मदाह कर लिया, और उस बच्चे का जो ये समाचार था, ये न्यूज़ थी, पूरे भारतवर्ष में फैल गई। और भारतवर्ष में फैलते ही दूसरे शहरों में भी लोग जो हैं, बच्चे, लड़के और लड़कियां जाके आत्मदाह करने लगे, अपने अपने घरों में जाते लॉक करते। अब ये तो किसी को अंदेशा हो नहीं सकता कि कौन से घर में कहाँ पर आत्मदाह होगा। तो ये जो थी अप्रत्याशित घटना थी, चंडीगढ़ में भी होने लगी और वो बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज था। जबकि एक बच्ची ने एक आत्मदाह किया और उसको हम जब पीजीआई ले जा रहे थे, जो कि मेडिकल वहाँ का सबसे अच्छा इंस्टीट्यूट है, तो वो बच्ची बहुत पॉपुलर थी उस एरिया में। तो लोगों ने सिंपैथी में सब उसके पीछे, जिस गाड़ी में वो जा रही थी, तो उस गाड़ी में उस सिचुएशन में भी जब उसका लगभग आधी जली हुई थी, उसने अपना सिर निकाला खिड़की से और केंद्र सरकार के खिलाफ नारेबाजी करने लगी। उसको सुनकर लोग द्रवित हो गए और उन्होंने अपनी गाड़ियाँ उसकी गाड़ी के पीछे लगा ली। और जब तक वो गाड़ी पीजीआई पहुंचती, तब तक लगभग 20,000 लोग इकट्ठे हो गए पीजीआई को घेर कर। उस बच्ची को आईसीयू में हम लोगों ने बेड पर रखा और बेड पर रखने के बाद तुरंत वेंटिलेटर लगाया। वेंटिलेटर से उसकी सांस चलने लगी, उसका जो चेस्ट है वो ऊपर नीचे होने लगी, जिससे क्लियर इंडिकेशन था कि वो बच्ची अभी ज़िंदा है। तो माता पिता बाहर खड़े होकर देख रहे थे और उनको इस बात का संतोष था कि बच्ची अभी ज़िंदा है। लेकिन कितनी देर, बाहर 20,000 लोग इकट्ठे हो गए थे और जो इतने गुस्से में थे कि वो पीजीआई अंदर आना चाहते थे, सब तोड़-फोड़ करना चाहते थे। लेकिन साथ में हमें ये भी देखना था कि बच्चे को सबसे अच्छा मेडिकल ट्रीटमेंट दिया जा सके। अब एथिकल डायलेमा ये था कि बच्ची को 50% से भी ज़्यादा बर्न्स थे और जानते हैं कि जब 50% से ज़्यादा बर्न हो तो बचने की संभावना बहुत कम होती है। तो हम लोगों ने पूरा प्रयत्न किया, लेकिन बच्ची को नहीं बचा पाए। लगभग 7 बजे शाम को बच्ची की मृत्यु हो गई। अब डायलेमा ये आया कि हम उसकी न्यूज़ जो है वो उजागर करें या ना करें, क्योंकि अगर हम उसकी न्यूज़ उजागर कर देंगे तो लोग बाहर जो खड़े हुए हैं वो निश्चित रूप से पीजीआई के अंदर आएंगे और वो तोड़-फोड़ करेंगे और जला देंगे उस एरिया को। और उसको, उस परिस्थिति में लॉ एंड ऑर्डर कंट्रोल करना हमारे लिए आवश्यक है और उस हालत में हमको टियर गैस शेल्स, लाठी चार्ज या हो सकता है फायरिंग भी करनी पड़े, जो कि आवश्यक थी एज ए डिस्ट्रिक्ट मजिस्ट्रेट मेरे लिए। तो अब ये किंग कर्तव्य विमूढ़ की स्थिति, दुविधा की स्थिति सामने पैदा हो गई कि क्या हम उसकी डेथ अनाउंस करें या ना करें। तो हम लोगों ने बड़े इन सारी चीज़ों को वे किया और उसके बाद ये पाया कि इस समय डेथ अनाउंस करना उचित नहीं होगा। तो कैसे करें? तो उसका उपाय डॉक्टर्स ने ढूँढा और वेंटिलेटर को ऑन रखा गया। 7 बजे बच्ची जा चुकी थी लेकिन वेंटिलेटर ऑन रहा। तो जो बच्ची की चेस्ट थी वो ऊपर नीचे होती रही, जिसने ये इम्प्रेशन दिया कि बच्ची अभी ज़िंदा है। रात को 1 बजे हम लोगों ने उसकी डेथ अनाउंस करी, तब तक सब लोग वहाँ से जा चुके थे। तो हम लोग कई बार बात करते हैं ना, द ग्रेटेस्ट गुड ऑफ द ग्रेटेस्ट नंबर, जो कि एथिकल थियरी मानी जाती है, यूटिलिटेरियन प्रिंसिपल। तो ऐसी परिस्थितियाँ इंडियन एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव सर्विस और सिविल सर्विस के सामने आती हैं और ऐसी असंख्य स्थिति हैं। तो इट्स ए वेरी चैलेंजिंग जॉब एंड डिफिकल्ट ऑल्सो। इट कम्स विथ लॉट ऑफ रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी। इसीलिए मैंने पहले ही कह दिया कि इट इज़ नॉट ए जॉब, इट इज़ अ सर्विस एंड इट कम्स विथ लॉट ऑफ रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, लॉट ऑफ पावर, लॉट ऑफ अथॉरिटी, बट ग्रेट रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी।
सर, आजकल खालिस्तानी मूवमेंट हैज़ अगेन कम इनटू द न्यूज़। तो जब आपकी पोस्टिंग थी चंडीगढ़ में, तो वहाँ पे ऐसे कुछ इंस्टेंस थे जहाँ पे कि खालिस्तानी मूवमेंट वाज एक्टिव या आपको कोई चैलेंजेस फेस करने पड़े हों उसकी वजह से?
So, in the life of a civil servant, every day brings a new challenge. I had 2 stints in Chandigarh administration, one as Deputy Commissioner Chandigarh and the second as Home Secretary Chandigarh. While I was Deputy Commissioner, that was the period in which this Khalistani movement was going on, and terrorists used to come and attack politicians, officers and others. And I distinctly remember one incident when I was the DM, that is the Deputy Commissioner of Chandigarh, 86 to 91, my SSP was there and he was under terrorist threat. And he used to move in a bulletproof car and he had very efficient driver and a gunman, PSO. And the terrorists had planted a bomb in a car, an old car, and that car was parked near one particular office in sector 17 of Chandigarh. and they knew everything about the movement of SSP. And the SSP's car, when it was going just past that car in which they had planted the bomb exploded, and the vehicle in which the SSP was traveling, that was literally destroyed, and the driver as well as the gunman, they were killed in the process. And SSP was injured. He was shifted to the hospital. Fortunately, he survived. And but this was clear that terrorists were striking not only in Punjab but also in Chandigarh, and one could see that lot many politicians were getting hit. So the examples of some of the politicians was the Chief Minister of Punjab himself was killed, the Finance Minister was killed, the Chairman Managing Director of Bhakra Byas Management Board was killed, many IAS, many PCS officers were also killed. And one particular example which I would narrate here is how I nearly survived another attempt on my life in a way. It was a very dangerous situation. So what happened was that there was a particular prominent politician living in Chandigarh. तो उनका जो रेजिडेंस था वो एक पर्टिकुलर सेक्टर में था, और उनके ऊपर चूंकि टेररिस्ट अटैक होने की संभावना थी, तो इसलिए उनको सरकार ने काफ़ी मात्रा में, प्रचुर मात्रा में स्टैटिक पुलिस फोर्स दे रखी थी, जो उनके घर पर गार्ड के रूप में हमेशा विद्यमान रहती थी, और साथ में उनको एक पर्सनल सिक्योरिटी ऑफिसर भी दिया हुआ था। तो ये प्रोमिनेंट पॉलिटिशियन एक पर्टिकुलर पार्टी को बिलोंग करते थे, और इनके पास मारुति ओमनी कार थी, और वो मारुति ओमनी कार में ड्राइवर के बगल में बैठा करते थे, और उनका जो गनमैन था वो लोडेड रिवॉल्वर लेकर उनकी पीछे वाली सीट पर बैठता था। तो टेररिस्ट अटैक तब करते हैं जबकि गाड़ी का मूवमेंट स्लो हो, स्पीड कम हो। तो ये जनरली तब होता है जबकि या तो आप लाइट सिग्नल पर रुक रहे हैं, या गाड़ी जो है घर से निकली हुई है, घर से निकलते ही स्पीड उसकी कम होती है, या जब आप घर पहुंच रहे हैं तो उसकी स्पीड कम हो जाती है। तो जिस समय स्पीड कम होती है उस समय एम लेना आसान हो जाता है। तो टेररिस्ट अटैक उसी समय करते हैं। तो एक दिन ये पॉलिटिशियन जो अपने घर से बाहर निकले अपनी मारुति ओमनी कार में, अचानक एक स्कूटर पर बैठकर दो लोग आए और उन्होंने पॉइंट ब्लैंक रेंज पर उनको जो है रिवॉल्वर की गोलियां दागी, and he collapsed in the seat and he died on the spot. And immediately there was furor in Chandigarh. That political party was very much aggrieved by this thing, because he was a very prominent politician, and they started having dharnas, they started moving in processions, holding rallies, and a lot of property was also getting damaged. Now here was a situation which was a very challenging situation, and I had to deal this conflict in a very special manner. I could not use force, because if I used force, it would precipitate further, and people all over the country, they may also go in a similar action. So I wanted to stop it then and there. So therefore this approach which we normally follow in conflict management, it's called as teddy bear approach, accommodation approach, जहाँ पर कि दूसरी पार्टी को accommodate करना पड़ता है in terms of overall peace in the region. So I called these people and I said, what exactly do you want? So they said that we are very unhappy because of inaction of the police, and we want to take out rallies in the entire Chandigarh. I said, granted. But you take permission from us, we will grant you permission. We will keep police posted nearby so that nobody attacks you. And you can hold rallies. They wanted to hold rallies. So I granted everything. That was the accommodation approach, because I wanted to end the matters then and there. It was a very, very explosive situation. Next day, the very prominent members of that party, they were to come for attending the cremation of this particular person. So the governor of Punjab, who was the administrator of UT Chandigarh, he called me and he said, I want to attend the cremation, the last rites of this particular person. I am the governor. I do not belong to any particular party. I would go to the cremation ground and lay wreath on the mortal remains of this particular politician. So the police said, sir, please don't go. If you go there and something untoward happens, we will have to use force. और आपको बचाना हमारे लिए आवश्यक है, आप VVIP हैं, आप क्यों अननेसेसरली प्रोवोक करना चाहते हैं, आप यहीं पर रहिए, और अगर आपको उचित लगता है कि किसी को जाके वहाँ पर रीत चढ़ानी है तो अपने आप रिप्रेजेंटेटिव को भेज दीजिए। तो उन्होंने इस बात पर विचार किया और उन्होंने मेरी ओर इशारा किया कि आप जाएंगे मेरे बिहाफ पर। मैं डिप्टी कमिश्नर था, तो पुलिस ने कहा कि ये ज़रूर जाएं, लेकिन इनको भी जो है फोर्स नहीं देंगे हम, क्योंकि हमारा पुलिस को देखते ही वो एलर्जिक हो गई है पॉलिटिकल पार्टी। तो मैंने कहा कोई बात नहीं, मैं अकेले जाऊंगा। तो मैंने अपने एक मजिस्ट्रेट को साथ में लिया और क्रमेशन ग्राउंड 25 सेक्टर चंडीगढ़ में है, उनमें एंटर किया। वहाँ पर सारे नेशनल लेवल के पॉलिटिशियंस उस पार्टी को जो बिलोंग करते थे, उनमें से एक बाद में प्राइम मिनिस्टर भी बने थे, तो वो भी वहाँ सब मौजूद थे। और मैंने देखा चारों तरफ मुड़ के कि चारों तरफ लोगों की नज़रें मेरी ओर थी और गुस्से से मेरी ओर देख रहे थे, आग्नेय दृष्टि थी, बिकॉज दे वर वेरी एंग्री बिकॉज ए वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पॉलिटिशियन हैड बीन किल्ड। I went to the pyre and I laid wreath on the mortal remains of that person, and I came back and sat on the dari and I started talking with these politicians, the big wigs of that political party, and they were very angry, and I nodded my head. I said, yes, I agree, injustice has been done. Of course we cannot bring back that person who was very dear to every one of us, but I can only say that we are very sorry, because I wanted to end the matter. It was a confrontation, it was a conflict. While I was talking to them, suddenly my magistrate came from behind and he pulled me by my arm and he said, sir, please get up. उठिए सर। मैंने कहा क्या हो गया? सर उठिए, यहाँ आप नहीं बैठेंगे, तुरंत उठिए। I said, but it is very impolite. I'm talking to these people. You are asking me to get up. He said, sir, you will not sit here. And he pulled me to the side and I nearly staggered. And as I was coming back, standing there, I suddenly saw that there were about 15 to 20 young people who were holding a can of kerosene in their hands, and they were about to throw that kerosene onto me and set me on fire. This magistrate was leaning against a wall and he was hearing these young Turks talking to them कि आज डीएम को ही जला डालते हैं, इसी बहाने हमारा इंतकाम तो पूरा होगा. And he heard that and he came running to me and he pulled me to the side, and as I came staggered and I was about to fall, and these people lunged forward with that kerosene can towards me, about to throw it. The entire media was there. They were looking at these people, and suddenly my personal security officer, who had also accompanied me, he was standing at a distance. He came running to me and he put himself between these people and myself with his AK-47 gun, and he said, one step forward and I will pump all the bullets inside your minds. Even whatever happens to me, but I will not allow any harm to come to my district magistrate. And then these people went back, and then the police came from outside. A DSP came and he surrounded me from all the sides, and I was taken outside. Next day, these people from that political party came into my office. They were very ashamed and they said, we are very sorry for what happened. It should not have happened. It happened because of some of the young Turks in our party, but we sincerely apologize. I said, don't worry. Raat gayi, baat gayi. Whatever has been done, it's over. I did not register any criminal cases because I wanted to end the matter. And then, because of this gesture of mine, I had excellent relations and cooperation from that political party, whatever time I remained in Chandigarh administration. So every new day brought a new challenge. And that is why I say civil service is distinguishable from other services. It is unique because every day is a new experience and new challenge.
सर किसी मूवी सीन से कम नहीं था ये, बहुत ज़्यादा मेरे को गूज़बम्स आ गए लिटरली व्हेन यू वर टेलिंग अबाउट दैट ही वाज अबाउट टू थ्रो इट एंड हाउ ही केम इन बिटवीन. So I think this is something that would also go as a message for the young officers, that how do you handle pressure situations. It is not like आप उनके खिलाफ केस नहीं रजिस्टर कर सकते थे, but you had to end it in a way जिससे कि चीज़ें smoothly चले, and that is what the work of an IAS officer is. You explained a lot about your career, your posting in Chandigarh. So is there anything that you regret as a civil servant, that I could have done this but I couldn't do it, or there was something that I did but I shouldn't have done? So any regret that you have?
No, not at all. I have no regret. In fact, to the contrary, I always felt that if you are on the right track and if you listen to your conscience plays a very important part in the life of a civil servant also. If you are doing the right thing and a noble cause, helping others, even if you get into some difficulty, as if some divine force comes and helps you out. And I witnessed it, I experienced it in a number of ways on a number of occasions. And there are many incidents which I can narrate in this regard, where some kind of a divine force came. I do not have any regret. In fact, the civil service has given me umpteen opportunities across the board, and I was able to work in almost 25 to 30 departments, worked as managing director, worked as director, worked as administrative secretary, and also was advisor in the UPSC, and also became the national facilitator on ethics and values. So I have absolutely no regret. I got cooperation from everyone, the political executive and my colleagues also. There were situations, of course, when one found that one was probably in a situation where there were difficulties, constraints, challenges, but I was able to overcome them very well. As I said, someone came to my help, a person whom even I did not know personally, and they stood up and they helped. There was one incident when one particular officer and the minister, they were against me. The situation developed like this, that I was sitting in my office. Suddenly I got a call from the chief minister's office, and they said, the officer said, he said, Krishna Mohan, there is a problem of finances. The state is going through a situation in which the overdraft facility has been stopped by the Reserve Bank of India because the revenue mobilization has been less. Can you help us out? I was the registrar of cooperative societies. So I immediately called a meeting, and I tried to find out whether the cooperative societies can lend some money to the government to tide over the difficulty. Yes. But then I found that under the rules, the government can give grant to the societies, but societies cannot give loan to the government. So I told my officer in the CMO office, and he said, think about something. It is going to result into a lot of bad publicity, and the entire development will stop. So I immediately called my officers again, and I found out an excellent solution to that, which was not only legal but also ethical, and it would have ensured tiding over the difficulty. Of course, I had to talk to the collectors, the deputy commissioners in the field. I had to talk to many people. Now, the question was whether to take that decision or not. It was a very important decision. That was returning the share capital and the loans which were taken by the societies back to the government, which was due, and it had not been paid. So it was a legal way of returning the share capital and the loans, rather than giving them loans. Giving them loans was not possible, but returning the loans and share capital was possible. So I told my officer, I said, it is possible, we will do that. But my officer, senior officer, was not there, and he had gone to Delhi. And we did not have mobile facility in those days. It was a landline telephone. So I tried to contact him. He was not available. And so I took the plunge, because it was an emergency. The state was suffering, and whatever action I was taking was a legal one. There was nothing wrong with it. And I had all the powers to take that decision. I did not have to refer that decision on file to my senior. But propriety demanded that I discuss with my senior. But the senior was not available. He was away to Delhi. And I then took a decision. I said, I'm doing the correct thing. So tomorrow, I don't think there will be any problem. And I implemented that. The problem was over. The financial position of the state remained intact. The chief minister was very happy. And if the finance secretary was very happy, they applauded my efforts. And then my officer came from Delhi, senior officer, and he wrote against me on the file. And I explained to him, I said, look, this was the situation. You were not available, and whatever decision I have taken, it was a correct decision. It was as per rules, as per law. But he was not convinced, and he wrote against me and sent it to the minister. And the minister also wrote a similar thing on the file. And now the file reached the chief minister. And the chief minister looked up at the file, and he wrote on the file that I'm surprised how the secretary and the minister, they have not understood the problem being faced by the state. Here was an officer who went out of the way to help the state. Whatever he did was legal, and it was on my instructions that he had done it. So instead of asking for his explanation, I asked for the explanation of the officer, secretary. How dare he call the explanation of this particular officer? And there the tables were turned. So now the explanation of that particular officer was called, and he was very upset because CM came to my rescue. And then what happened, the minister, when the time of annual confidential report came, the minister kept my ACR with him. And ACR is a very important document. Every year you are given the annual confidential report, how well you have performed. So my secretary gave a lukewarm report, not a very good report, because he was angry. And I was a careerist. I was slightly dismayed. I came to know about it. The file went to the minister, and the minister also wanted to write something wrong. And then I met the chief minister, and I said, sir, this is the price for doing good things. And he listened to me, and he immediately wrote a note to the governor, and he said, I'm not happy with this minister, and the minister may be dismissed. The minister was dismissed that evening by the governor's order, and the file, my annual confidential report, it did not go to the minister, and it went straight over to the chief minister. And then the chief minister gave me an outstanding report. Rather, he gave me a appreciation letter also. So now when I look back, I did not know the chief minister at all, but here was a person, as if a divine power came and helped me out. And this is, I always like to say, in your service, you have to take risks. You have to take initiative. You have to take proactive action. Running from the things is not going to help. And that is why I said honesty is required. But honesty is not the only thing which is required. A civil servant must be efficient, must be effective, must perform, must deliver. And delivery is very important. If you are doing the right thing, no harm will come to you.
Absolutely, sir. That is such an inspiring story that if you keep doing good things, the good things will come back to you and it won't go against you.
It does.
So you've also been an advisor to the UPSC. So there is, I think you're the best person to answer this question. Like I personally faced this problem as an aspirant. It's regarding CSAT. So the level of CSAT examination has considerably increased. Like it has become very difficult for people who are not that good in mathematics to clear that exam. So do you think there is some change that needs to be brought in the examination pattern of UPSC? And if there is one advice that you could give right now to the UPSC, what would that be?
In fact, reforms are necessary everywhere, as I said, with the passage of time. You require changes, you require reforms. CSAT of late one has found that it is more beneficial, helpful in the case of engineering students as compared to the arts and humanities. Right. So that is a kind of a discouraging factor for arts, and because many people from engineering and medical background, management also, they are coming. So my view is that we should have a mix of all people from all disciplines. So from arts, and arts people are also required. We require people from the disciplines of engineering and medical also. So I think the CSAT paper, a lot of things are being said. I think we should have a relook at the CSAT paper, whether CSAT paper can be replaced by some other paper, which will probably, it can be one optional, which can be there, or something else. But CSAT people feel that one section of the population feels that it is doing a slight amount of, they are not in a position to clear CSAT paper, even though it is a qualifying paper, but still the level is going high every year, and it is disadvantageous to some section of the society. At the same time, having said that, I think a lot of reforms probably would be necessary elsewhere also, in terms of the mains paper also, and interview also. Probably some things are required, and the age also, and the number of attempts also. Many things have been said by different forums, and I think we should, because young blood should come and so on. So that again is a recommendation which probably is required. And I think one should interact with all sections of society. And again, as I say, governance is not a matter, it's a very serious matter to be left only to the government. The government must come along with the civil society and the stakeholders to take a final view, because the good governance principle, one of the very, very important, the two pillars of good governance, one is participatory and the other is consensus building. So we must build a consensus, and also by taking participation of all the stakeholders in the society. So some kind of changes are required. What these changes will be, it is going to affect some people favorably, some people adversely. So consensus has to emerge. Saying that CSAT paper should be removed is also probably not right thing, but at the same time replacing it with someone, some people will favor that. But the crux of the matter is that the civil services examination, there are lot many things which can be changed at all the three levels, prelims as well as, because prelims has now become a paper more of elimination rather than selection. Many very brilliant candidates I have found that they are not able to clear the prelims after many attempts, and therefore it puts lot of induces lot of discouragement amongst them. So I think we should come out with something, because descriptive writing, this is my opinion, descriptive writing always brings out much better your inner abilities as compared to MCQs, and the knowledge, skills and attitudes are well reflected when you write a paper through descriptive writing.
सर हम यूपीएससी एग्जाम में चेंजेस की बात कर रहे थे अभी, तो ऐसा ही एक चेंज यूपीएससी से रिलेटेड सजेस्ट किया है इन्फोसिस के फाउंडर मिस्टर नारायण मूर्ति ने. ही इज सेइंग दैट वी शुड डायरेक्टली पिक सिविल सर्वेंट्स फ्रॉम द बिजनेस स्कूल्स. नाउ इसको लेके आपका क्या पर्सपेक्टिव है?
There will be lot of difficulties in implementing this kind of a proposal. It may bring lot of subjectivity in decision making. One of the important values which we have to understand in the Indian context also is to introduce objectivity. And the competitive examination which is conducted by the UPSC, and UPSC still is considered to be a very, very fair institution. And therefore that objectivity will be lost in case we start picking up like from the business schools through placement. I think some kind of an examination, not only one stage but 2 to 3 stages as it is being conducted, would be necessary to bring out the best cream among this. Of course, as I said, in terms of changes in the syllabus or the pattern, there we can make definitely changes in that. But it will be difficult to implement the decision, the recommendation which has been made by Mr. Murthy.
Thank you so much for sharing this, sir. Just the last message that you would want to give to the UPSC aspirants who are watching you and who want to become like you.
I would only like to thank my viewers. It was a great pleasure interacting with all of you. And I would definitely like to say that whatever we have talked about in the last 1 hour or so, think about it, and do not keep only one aim, that is of the civil services. There are many avenues. You can do a lot to the society in every avenue. So therefore always keep a plan B and plan C ready. And if anything out of this deliberation discussion we have had, you find something interesting, something noteworthy, try to abide by it and go along with that. I can assure you it will definitely help you out in your future endeavors. And my best wishes and good luck to all of you for success in whichever field in which you are working. मेरी बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं आप सबको.
Thank you so much, sir, for coming and giving your time and sharing your experience with all of us, not just us here in the studio, but also with our viewers. So thank you so much once again, sir. And thank you to everyone who was watching this video and has watched this video throughout till the very end. Thank you so much. Stay tuned and we'll be back with another episode very soon.